Guys, welcome back to my new video. So today we are going to solve one of the coding question asked in TCS NQT exam in the 21st March second shift. So it is the first question that has been asked to calculate the parking fee. So the problem has stated as parking fee collection and the description is given as so there is a parking lot that charges fee based on the number of hours a car is parked. So they're using the number of hours as the criteria in order to like charge the fee. So also the question has been mentioned that it uses tier structure. So what is tier structure? We'll discuss it in the video. So they have given some conditions. This for the first 2 hours we have to collect 100 rupees per hour for parking. For the next 3 hours, that is, if the parking is 3 hours, so for the next 3 hours, that is for the 3 hour, fourth hour, and fifth hour, we have to charge them 50 rupees per hour. Any additional hours beyond five, parking 5 hours, the parking may be parked for 10 hours. So at that time, we have to charge 20 rupees above the that is for sixth hour, seventh hour, eighth hour, and ninth hour, so on. So the given integer n represents the total number of hours a car is parked. So they give input n as the total number of hours car parked. So we have to calculate the total parking fee. So that has to be paid by the car owner. So so they also given that input n will be an integer and it will range from 1 to 10 to the power 5. So it is clear that the n will be valid integer and it will not be 0 or less than 0. It will be positive and it will be in between 1 and 10 to the power 5. This represents the number of hours car is paid. So the output they're expecting is we have to return and which is the total parking cost. Okay, let's see example. So the first example says the input n is given as 2 and the output they're expecting as 200. How this can be calculated? Mention that for the first hours we have to calculate 100 rupees per hour. So it will is the output of 200 or the total parking fee as 200. See this example. So in example 2, they have given as 4 hours n and the output they are expecting is 300. So here we have to be keen that for the first 2 hours we have to calculate the price that is 200 and the remaining hour. So in the total 4 hours, the remaining are 2 hours. So for that 2 hours we have to charge them 50 rupees which will cost us 100 rupees. So the total cost will be the cost of first 2 hours and the next 2 hours. So that is 300. So next, if we check this third example, so n is given as 6 and the output is expected as 370. This is interpreted. So the first 2 hours will be charged at 200 and the next 3 hours for each next hours that 50 rupees. So that is why they mentioned as for the next 3 hours it's 150, not for the whole 5 hours 50 rupees. So for the next 3 hours beyond 2 hours it is 150. So remaining is what 1 hour. From the 6 hour we have calculated for 5 hours. The remaining is 1 hour that exceeds 5. Charging 20 rupees. So the total cost will be 370 rupees. So one thing I have to clarify is the total cost what we are finding is cumulative based or tire based, not a single flat rate. So the question they have mentioned that we have to use the tire based structure. So whenever we are going to use some time in order to calculate the cost, so we have to check whether it passes or exceeds the first condition. So if it exceeds the first condition, it has to be calculated as a constant price. So as in example 2, we have discussed here for the first 2 hours, it is constant that he has to be 200. So for the next hours, so greater than 2, what are the hours he parks? So up to 3 hours, we are charging 50 rupees per hour. So this is called the cumulative based approach. So we have to use previous condition as constant in the current condition. Like when I interacted with some students, so they misconcepted like if n is less than or equal to 2, we have to multiply 100 with the n, that is 100 rupees per hour. So it's good. So it will not affect your code or logic. So look at these conditions. So using when the number of hours is 2 to 5, so they're using 50 rupees up to n. So this is wrong. Up to n we cannot use. So if it exceeds 2, we have to add a constant of 200. Then for remaining hours, we have to add the 50 rupees per hour. So also for the hour that exceeds 5 also, some students use 20 into n. That is for 6 hour or 7 hours, they use 20 into 6, 20 into 7 and got the wrong answer, and many of the test cases has been not solved. So if it is not tired or it's a flat pricing, this approach is correct. But usually this is incorrect unless explicitly mentioned. So it has to be mentioned by the questioner itself. So the tip is whenever you see there is a first type or a first same condition, then if it is not satisfied or if it is exceeded, proceed the next condition, or if it is also exceeded, go to next condition. So at this type of problems, so it is 90% sure that it is a cumulative or tire based problem. So we have to consider conditions one by one. So the previous condition matters for the current condition what we are using. So let us quickly look at the code. So for this code, yeah, one thing I have to tell here. So the class name what you are going to create in order to solve the TCS exam, if you are using Java as the programming language, please create the class name as my class where M, Y and C are capital. So this is very important because one of my friends had, so he gave the class name as different and the file name what the examiner was set was not matching and he got some compiler error, and he was confused and wasted some time in order to debug that. So please make sure that you give the class name as my class. So once try to run without writing any code, if you get error, so then automatically you change the class name and then write the logic. So that will be good for you and saves time for you. So first I have used a scanner in order to take the user input, that is total number of hours, and I have declared a variable total cost which is used for calculating the cost, and I am initializing n with the user input using the sc object what I have created using scanner class and the next int method in order to get the integer input from the user. So here my n acts as the total number of hours that the car has been parked. So first condition I am checking if n is less than or equal to 2. That is if n is 1 hour or 2 hour, I am charging 100 rupees per hour and storing the value in the total cost. So if this condition is true, we are not going to check these two conditions. We are going to print the total cost. So if it is false, we will go to next condition. We'll check if n is greater than 2. Yes, n is greater than 2. And we'll check n is less than or equal to 5. So if n is in between 2 and 5, we are going to calculate the total cost as 200. That is fixed from the first condition. And for the remaining hours, that is total hours minus first 2 hours, we are going to calculate by multiplying it with 50 rupees. So using this condition, we will get the new total cost if the number of hours exceeds 2 hours. So else it is obvious that the total number of hours is greater than 5 also. So at that time, two constants we are using, that is 200 and 150. 200 represents the total cost from the first condition, that is for the first 2 hours. 150 represents the total cost for the next 3 hours, that is greater than 2 and less than or equal to 5. So the last condition is n minus 5, that is total number of hours minus 5, because for the first 5 hours we have already calculated the cost, and for the remaining hours we are calculating the cost by multiplying it with 20. So and if any of one of the condition will be satisfied, and the total cost will be calculated. So that cost will be printed using the system.out.println. So let me run it for you once. So let me give our asterisk. See, we got the output as 370 correctly. So let me give another input. Let me give 3. See, the output is 250 rupees. So this program is correctly calculating our price. So one thing we can ignore is, so we can take off that n greater than 2 condition, because if this condition is getting false, it is obvious that n is greater than 2 only. So we'll just ignore that condition, and we can also use only the n is less than or equal to 5 condition. It is also fine. But for safety purpose, let us once check if n is greater than or equal to 2 and then n is less than or equal to 5. So this is how the first question has to be solved. So I hope this program is understood for you, and what should be the logic and how to analyze the question. Thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned for another coding example. So that video will also be uploaded in the channel. How to analyze the question, what should be the logic, and how to convert that into code. Thank you for watching.